are incredibly proud at American to be the first and longest serving airline at Reagan National. American operated the first ever flight into Reagan on June 16, 1941.
If you're old enough to remember, this room once contained ticket counters, waiting areas, and other amenities for passengers boarding flights. It was the center of activity with planes parked just outside the window, and that one looks familiar, where you see the historic American Airlines DC-3 sitting right out the window.
We had the Flagship Detroit, an American Airlines DC-3 on static display out on what is called the observation deck. It's the original terminal that opened in 1941, and the planes just taxied up and you could go out on the observation deck and watch people arrive.
When I was 16 years old, I had my first flight, and I left Atlantic City on a DC-3, and I came to Washington, Reagan, with my mother. So I said, I want to be a flight attendant. The airport was very small in those days. It was just the main terminal. You know, there wasn't a lot of movement like we have today.
The 75th arrival of the day was an American Airlines A321 from Dallas-Fort Worth. We had some meeters and greeters from the airport, from American. We had 4 of our flight attendants in vintage flight attendant uniforms that were there to hand out a commemorative gift for the customers that came off of that airplane.
I feel that I have been reincarnated today, that my age has just sort of drifted away for the day. This is something that I wanted to do, to put this uniform on again after 58 and a half years, to put this uniform on again and feel like I did back when.
We have to know our history on how all these things happen. Just like here at Reagan, you know, this is a historical airport. And back in its still a heyday, back in its heyday when DC-3s were coming and all the famous people and all the politicians and everybody coming in here, this was, like they said, a real special place, and it still is.
Reagan National is not just an airport, it's a national treasure. Elected officials have the ability to return to their districts, their constituents, in just a few short hours. Families can get off a plane and be at the Smithsonian or on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in a matter of minutes, all because of Reagan National.
And I'm particularly moved when an honor flight comes into DCA that brings veterans from across the country to visit their memorials here in Washington.
We make announcements throughout the terminal, and customers who are waiting for their departures, who are coming in, line up, and you just have this line of people cheering for the veterans.
And I also hear from our employees who tell me how often they have to pinch themselves because they're out there on the ramp or standing at a gate and they look over and see the Capitol or the Washington Monument, and it's a surreal feeling. So it's an honor and a privilege for the American Airlines team members who call DCA their home.